graders, we're going to be focused on problem solving this week. Your goal this week is going to be, I can use a problem solving method to solve a word problem. There's a couple different problem solving methods that were used in the 4th grade. We're going to start by reviewing those. And we'll also take a picture of the charts I made about those problem solving methods and put them in your work so that way you can use them to help you. If you were in Miss Ayala's class, this is your problem solving steps that you guys would take when solving a word problem. First one, read the problem all the way through. Every single word from start to finish before you start to solve anything. Second, then go back and circle the important data. Third, underline the question. 4, look at the key words to help determine the operation or operations needed to solve a problem, because sometimes you have to do more than one step in order to solve a problem. It might be a 2-step story problem or even 3 steps to solve it. 5, choose a strategy and solve. So what are you going to do to figure out the answer and solve it? 6, check to see if the answer makes sense. So go back to the question. Does my answer make sense with the question that was being asked and the information that was given? And 7, label the answer. And then Miss Ayala let me know that if you guys didn't have a label, then the label must be underwear. And I thought that was pretty funny and kind of a fun way to help you guys remember to add your labels. Another problem-solving method is the cubes method. So it stands for circle important information, underline the question, box math language, equations that match the problem. So write your equations that match the problem. And then strategies, use multiple strategies to check your work and label your work. Labels are very important in everything we do. So I will take a picture of both of those and add it to the work today. That way you can review them just like you would in the classroom as like an anchor chart. We're going to practice these methods using a story problem, and then you're going to get to your work today. And you can always, of course, come back to this video and review it. If you're watching this video, you will know the code word. Melissa and Angie baked 10 pies for a bake sale on Pie Day and were surprised that they sold every piece. Each pie had 8 slices, and each slice was $2. How much money did the girls make? So I just did step 1, read the problem all the way through. All right, now step 2 for Miss Ayala's is circle important information. That's the same thing for the cubes method. So I'm going to go and I'm going to circle all the important information. Okay, well, they made 10 pies for bake sale on Pie Day. And they were surprised that they sold every piece. Okay, it's good for me to know that they sold every piece, not all, just some of them. Each pie had 8 slices, and each slice was $2. Okay, feel like I got all my important information. Now I need to underline the question. That's the next step for both of them. So I always look for the question mark because then you know it's obviously the question. Oh, how much money did the girls make? That is the question, and it ends in a question mark. Look for key words to determine the operations needed to solve, or box the math language. Those are both the exact same thing. So when I was thinking about this problem, I knew it was really important for me to know that the pie had 8 slices, because that's going to help me know that I have to figure out how many slices there are altogether. So it was important for me to know this math language, even though it doesn't really necessarily determine like exactly what operation I'm going to use. It does help me know that I'm going to need to do something with that information. It also is important for me to know that there's a price in here because it's asking me how much money they made. So I'm going to have to do something with that price. Again, it's not necessarily helping me determine what exactly I'm going to do to solve it, my operations, but it is important for me to know that this is a dollar amount. So I'm going to have to use that if we're talking about how much money is made. But I don't really have any specific math language in here that's going to tell me exactly what I'm going to do with this 10, 8, and 2. So now I have to think of a strategy to use and solve it, and I have to write some equations to match. I personally am just a visual learner, and I need to visually see things in order to solve them. So I'm going to draw out 10 pies. So not an artist, not trying to make it a perfect drawing. I just have my 10 pies. I know that each pie was cut into 8 slices. Now I could sit here and I could make it into a fraction, cut them all, but I don't need to do that. I can just write 8 in between each one. So I know each of these has 8. Now in the problem it said they sold every single piece, so I know that every single one of those 8 slices from every single one of those 10 pies was sold. So I can see now that I've used my visual model, that is just like making equal groups, which reminds me of multiplication. So if I want to figure out first how many slices of pie there even are to know how much they're sold for, I'm going to do 8 times 10 to start with. And I know my 10, so I know that is 80. So far I know that they made 80 slices of pie. Okay. And I could check that by counting my 10s, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. 8 times 10 is 80. So I checked it with another strategy besides just my memory. So we have 80 slices. Now, if I stop here and I think about the question, how much money did the girls make? And I have an answer of 80 slices. Did I really answer the question? Well, no, that doesn't make sense. Slices and money are not the same thing. So now I need to take a second step and figure out, okay, now I know how many slices were made. Now I got to figure out how much money they were sold for. So each slice was $2, so that's important. And there's no change. So I'm just going to put 2. And there was 80 slices. So again, that leads me to multiplication because we have 2 per slice. So every single slice was $2. And there's 8 in that slice, but there's 80 slices total. So I'm going to do 2 times 80. Well, I know that 2 times 8 is 16. And then I'm going to add my 0. And so they made $160. There's my label. Selling pies. So now I'm going to go and check to see if my answer makes sense again. When we stopped here, I checked to see, did it make sense to have an answer of just 80 slices? Well, that wasn't the question, so no, it didn't make sense. But now I see, okay, I did $2 times 80 because each slice was $80. That makes sense. And I got $160 for selling pie. And my question was, how much money did the girls make? $160. That's money. That makes sense. It makes sense with the work that I've done. I could check it again. 2 times 80. 80 plus 80. 160. So I checked it with another strategy and got the same amount. So we can see that Melissa and Angie made $160 selling pie. If you've made it all the way to the end, you now know the code word is pie. You're going to need to remember that because this is going to be one of the questions in your form today. Code word pie. Do not tell your friends. All right, I'll take pictures of these. Go use them to help you solve these problems.